In the 1970s, Freddie Fender's voice was everywhere. With chart-topping hits like Before the Next Teardrop Falls and Wasted Days and Wasted Nights, he became the first Mexican-American artist to cross over fully into the mainstream country market. His soulful, bilingual vocals and heartbreaking lyrics made him a household name, a symbol of cultural fusion, hope, and heartbreak. But behind the soft croon and flamboyant persona was a dark, chaotic story, one of arrest, addiction, racial discrimination, and self-destruction. Freddie Fender was a man at war with his identity, his fame, and his demons. And for every spotlight moment, there was a secret the world wasn't ready to hear. This is the true story of Freddie Fender. Not just the musician, but the fugitive, the inmate, the outcast, the addict, the miracle, and the survivor. Freddie Fender wasn't born Freddie Fender. He was born Baldemar Garza Huerta in San Benito, Texas, in 1937. A child of Mexican migrant workers, he grew up in a world that saw him as both invisible and dangerous. His family labored in cotton fields for pennies a day. They lived in a wooden shack with no electricity. He sang for coins in the street. But Baldemar had something few boys had, a voice that could break hearts. His earliest performances were in church and on Mexican radio stations. By 10, he was already known locally for his talent. Despite the raw power of his voice, Baldemar knew the music industry had no space for a poor Chicano singer, so he adapted. He served in the Marines at 17, got court-martialed for drinking, and came back even more determined to succeed under a new name. He recorded his first English-language hit, Wasted Days and Wasted Nights, in 1959 under the name Freddy Fender, a name chosen because it sounded more American. He was trying to cross the border not just of countries but of genres, class, and race. In 1960, Freddie was arrested in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for possession of 2 marijuana joints. It sounds small today, but in Jim Crow, Louisiana, a Chicano singer rising in popularity was seen as a threat. The judge made an example of him. 5 years in Angola prison. At Angola, Freddie labored in brutal conditions. He sang for inmates, for guards, sometimes for himself. But he never gave up hope. He sent letters, pleaded for help. One of those letters reached Governor Jimmy Davis, who had a soft spot for country singers. With the help of Huey Moe, a controversial producer known for exploiting desperate talent, Freddie was granted parole. The condition? No music for 5 years. It was punishment disguised as mercy. Freddie, already broken by prison, now had to watch the world pass him by, mute. Huey Moe, known as the Crazy Cajun, was a record producer with a dark reputation. He helped Freddie get released and promised to relaunch his career. But that partnership came at a heavy cost. Moe signed Freddie to one-sided deals. He demanded total control, and he profited handsomely while Freddie, once again, was exploited. Before the Next Teardrop Falls was recorded for $700. It went on to sell over 1 million copies, and Freddie saw a small fraction of it. Moe would later be indicted on charges unrelated to Freddie: child pornography, drugs, and weapons. But long before that, he'd already damaged the careers of many artists who trusted him, including Freddie. Freddie's breakout hit came in 1974 when Before the Next Teardrop Falls hit #1, one on the Billboard country chart, and then the pop chart. It was unheard of, a bilingual Tejano singer topping white-dominated charts. But it wasn't luck. It was pain, authenticity, and heartbreak poured into every line. If he brings you happiness, then I wish you all the best. It's your happiness that matters most of all. Freddie sang it like he had lived it, because he had. But with success came new pressures. The country music industry was still deeply racist. Freddie was often forced to downplay his Mexican roots. He couldn't win awards, wasn't invited to the Grand Ole Opry. He was famous, but not accepted. Freddie started drinking heavily again. Touring constantly, he became unreliable. Missed shows, slurred performances, his health declined. So did his reputation. At the same time, his music was shifting from raw to formulaic. Moe had him churning out records, covers, B-side fillers. Freddie had little control. Behind the scenes, he was miserable, trapped, haunted by his own voice. He would later say, "I was just the guy singing. I didn't know what was mine." Freddie wasn't the only Mexican-American artist marginalized by the music industry, but he was the most visible. Despite massive record sales, he was rarely nominated for major awards. He was excluded from Nashville circles. He was too Mexican for country and too country for Latin radio. At concerts, fans asked him to speak English. Record execs demanded he stop rolling his R's. Freddie was constantly shape-shifting, just to survive. And yet through it all, his music endured. In 1989, Freddie found family, in the form of the Texas Tornadoes. Joined by Flaco Jimenez, Doug Somm, and Augie Myers, Freddie helped create a sound that was unapologetically Chicano. No hiding, no adjusting. Their debut album was a revelation. Songs like Soy de San Luis and Who Were You Thinking Of blended country, conjunto, and rock in a way no one had heard before. This was Freddie at his most free, and fans, both Anglo and Latino, loved it. By the mid-1990s, Freddie was diagnosed with diabetes, hepatitis C, and later lung cancer. He had a kidney transplant in 2002, donated by his daughter. He kept performing, always, even in pain. In 2001, he released La Música de Valdemar Huerta, a tribute to the boy he once was. It won a Grammy. It was the last time the industry acknowledged him. Before death. He passed away in 2006, but his music, voice, and impact still echo across Texas, Mexico, Nashville, and beyond. In 2020, tapes were discovered in a forgotten studio in Houston. Demos Freddie recorded during his forbidden years. They included covers of Hank Williams in Spanish, experimental blues, even songs about prison life that were too raw for radio. Some are being remastered, some may never be released, but they reveal a man who never stopped singing, even when no one was listening. Was Freddy Fender a country star, a Chicano icon, a victim, a sellout? The answer is all of it. He was a man who refused to quit, who lost years to a racist legal system, who battled addiction and exploitation, who sang like a wounded bird and still flew. His story isn't perfect, but it's necessary, because behind every hit is a wound, and Freddy Fender sang every one of them. During his silent years when he was legally forbidden to perform, Freddy Fender didn't stop writing. He just stopped recording officially. But in the back rooms of Texan bars, in bedrooms converted into makeshift studios, and during midnight motel sessions, Freddie kept the music alive. He wrote songs about prison, not the romanticized outlaw kind, but the suffocating, bureaucratic, hopeless kind. He composed ballads in Spanglish, fusing outlaw country themes with border town blues. These songs didn't have a label. They didn't fit a genre, and perhaps that's why they were never released. Music historians believe over 40 unreleased recordings exist. Dusty tapes with hand-scrawled notes like BG Demo 1964 and Too Mexican for Radio. Some say those tapes contain his real masterpiece, a stripped-down 7-minute track called Chains in My Throat, a chilling acoustic song where he blames no one but himself, yet indicts the whole system with every verse. For decades, Freddie's biggest audience wasn't on television. It was in trailers, swap meets, cantinas, and family reunions. In Corpus Christi, an elderly man still plays Freddie's music on a radio he's kept since 1975, held together by duct tape. He sang what we lived, he says. In Laredo, a woman swears she got through her son's funeral because of Before the Next Teardrop Falls. And in Nashville, a young guitarist plays Freddie's solos note for note every week on Broadway, even though most tourists don't know the name. His voice reminds me of my grandfather, he says. There's something holy in it. In the early 2000s, Freddie quietly sued several former producers and labels for unpaid royalties. The lawsuits were mostly settled out of court, but insiders say the numbers were staggering. Freddie had been shorted millions. Some of his early masters were sold without his knowledge, some were misattributed to other artists, others were simply erased. Even after his death, his estate continues to battle over rights. As one lawyer said, Freddy Fender was robbed with a smile. Today, country music is evolving. You'll find Latin-inspired acts like Cassie Velazza or the Mavericks selling out shows. Artists like Orville Peck cite Freddy Fender as an influence. But has Nashville ever truly acknowledged him? Freddie was never inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame during his lifetime. He was rarely invited to the CMA Awards. His bilingual legacy was largely ignored in mainstream documentaries. It wasn't until after his death that Rolling Stone ranked Before the Next Teardrop Falls among the greatest country songs of all time. Too little, too late. In his final years, Freddy Fender spoke often about faith. "I've made peace," he said in one of his last interviews. "I've had my wasted nights. I just don't want to waste my soul." He recorded a gospel album shortly before his death, now out of print. He stopped drinking, reconnected with estranged family members, played benefit shows for cancer research. He even considered writing a memoir called A Voice from the Fields, but he never finished it. His last performance was at a casino in Oklahoma, sitting on a stool, oxygen tank by his side. He closed with, "Before the next teardrop falls." And then, the crowd, mostly older, mostly brown, mostly forgotten, gave him a standing ovation. Not for surviving, for never stopping. Thanks for watching today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, share and comment. Who should we do next video about?